I've been told I was in charge. You all are in trouble. I'm in charge.
Yeah.
No, Doug said I had to do the opening. So, hi, welcome back. I hope everybody's had a good week. And I guess we're changing subjects this week. My thought, Doug, is on contentment. People being content. And I like to figure out what somebody else tells me what I'm thinking of. You know what I mean? To be content is to be in a state of peaceful happiness. Peaceful happiness.
Peaceful happiness.
I'm going to tell you what happiness is, too. I'll just go all out on this thing.
Go ahead.
A feeling or showing of pleasure or contentment. And there's another one for happiness. It says having a sense of confidence in or satisfaction with a person, arrangement, or situation. That's happiness. Okay. Contentment, I think, would fall along those lines, don't you? If you're content, if you're not happy, it's hard to be content. Eh?
If you're content, dealing with English language here, which can be confusing.
Yes, it
just
can.
ask anybody that don't speak. If you're content, you're in a state of happiness. Now,
usually,
happiness is not necessarily where we're laughing until we cry.
Exactly.
But we're happy with the circumstances that we are in.
Paul, and we had to look it up, so I'll read that for you.
Okay.
Paul said in 1 Timothy 6:6, he said, "Oh, I'm sorry. No, it wasn't that. Where was we found Philippians 4?
Philippians 4:11.
Yeah, he said he had found in. I looked it up. 4:11. I have learned in whatsoever state I am therewith to be content. He went on. He said, I know both how to be abased, and I know how to abound. He said, I know how to get by with nothing, and I know how to get by with a lot.
Yeah.
And he said, whatever state he was in, whether he had a lot or little, he was content. And I worry about it is well. It is well with my soul. That's a powerful song, because if you can really believe that, I ain't gonna say believe it, if that's true in your life,
that can be your state, internal state of being.
I believe there's a lot of people who don't ever seem to be content. They always want more. And
you know why?
I'm going to say.
You're going to tell me.
I'm going to tell you.
Good deal.
I was looking up definitions, and I used one of these computer things to look up definitions, because it's quicker than me going through a book and finding it. It can tell me when I spell stuff wrong. But I come across a question on the internet that says, what is lacking in the heart of a person who is never satisfied? And this is really important. I want you all out there to think, to look at your own life and go, am I truly content? Am I desiring more all the time, or am I content with what I have? And that, it says, the answer to that question, what is missing?
So that was the definition. It gave the question and an answer.
It gave an answer later on, or it gave a question after that. You look it up, and I scroll down a little bit to see about other definitions. But anyway, it said a person who is never satisfied may be lacking contentment, gratitude, or a sense of inner peace. And I thought, well, of course, if you ain't content, you're not going to have those things. But it went on. It said they might also struggle with low self-esteem. And people don't want. It says, and it goes on from that. It says people like this tend to focus on what they don't have instead of what they do have. And I think you've known people, I know I have, that don't ever seem to be happy with what they've got.
No.
You know what I mean? They want a new car, and they get it and go, yeah, what I wanted. Well, the car ain't what makes you happy.
Yeah.
You know?
Is that not a state of Americans?
I think it is for most Americans. You look around. I don't know where you all are at, maybe that's watching these, but in this part of the country, I can take you in a 20-mile radius of my home. And you used to see houses that would, just regular old houses, you know. And now you're starting to see things that look like mansions around. It cost $1 million, and I can still remember.
Just by the way, in every part of the country, $1 million will buy you a mansion.
A mansion.
An absolute mansion. It would be anywhere in the world would be a mansion. Go ahead.
Yeah, it'd be a mansion anywhere in the world. But you're seeing them, subdivisions full of them.
Yeah.
And the type of work I did for years, they were already doing that. When I started noticing these things, before I retired there, I could see this happening. They would be just a husband and wife living in. And you go, Well, you got 10 bedrooms, 14 bathrooms. I don't understand. Why do you need a house like that? They weren't content. They wanted to look like something. But I bet that house didn't make them happy.
Is it?
Most of them were working night and day trying to pay for that house, and they weren't happy with each other because they were killing themselves trying to have more to be happy.
Turn this on.
Turn that volume down.
Is it? Are we not told that though from a young age, and that possessions will make you, what you have is what makes you happy?
We're taught that, and how sad is that?
Yeah, I tell you, we were in. If any country in the world should know that what you have is a measure of how happy you'll be. If this country can't figure that out, and all this education that we've spent all this money on, these universities, this.
Wait a minute, what'd you say? What you have is a measurement of how happy you'll be?
If in this country we ain't figured out that what you have is a measure of how happy you are, it's false.
It's false. Okay.
Yeah, then
I didn't catch this false part.
I don't know if I throw that false in there. I might not get all the way to that.
Because I was thinking you were saying
parenthetical statements in between it, and I just want to say false later on.
Okay.
You don't know about parenthetical statements.
No, I don't know what. I can't
anyway,
say fair whatever that thing was.
Anyway, if we haven't disproved that, we were. We talk. I don't know how we got to this Sunday. Sometimes our class gets out of control, and somebody brought up that they were seeing on Facebook, young people posting about how that they were just lost. They didn't know, who am I? What am I? What's my purpose? Who am I?
Boy, I'd like to talk to them, wouldn't you?
Oh, on and on and on. And you're going, if they listen, the thing is, there used to be a song, No Love at All. It's two people living in a mansion hating each other. I can't remember. I think it was No Love at All. They said that wasn't the name of the song.
Yeah, that line. I remember it something. So
that, you know, remember the old song Skipper wrote?
Mm-hmm.
Listen to the children while they play. Ain't it kind of funny?
What the people say.
Yeah, what the children say.
What the children say,
What
yeah.
the children say.
Yeah,
Mama
yeah,
hates daddy and daddy hates mom. Y'all have heard the fight they had. Gave little sister another bad dream. Woke us all up with a big bad scream. Skipper wrote.
Skipper wrote.
Ain't it kind of funny? Because Satan has managed to give us the wrong ideal about how to be content.
Yes. Yes. Oh, if you can get this, you'll be happy. If you can get that, you'll be happy.
Yeah.
And you see it in every aspect. You see it in wealth, people wanting more money.
Yeah.
I think I said something to you earlier today when I talked to you about make sure he's coming up here. There's a problem with people wanting more money, more fame, more power. There comes a point where they don't.
Some of that.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
There comes a point where they don't want more specific. They want more. They want more, and you can never have more. More is what they're looking for. They're not looking for fame because they've already got fame. Look at these movie stars.
Yeah.
They're not looking for money. Look at these. I'll use a Forrest Gump word, but these gazillionaires. Well, they've already got money, so they're looking for the more.
What are they really looking for?
Well, they're looking for satisfaction, contentment.
Looking for contentment.
They're looking for satisfaction, contentment. And I'm going to cut right to the chase here because we blab so long sometimes. And most of you probably heard this. There is a Christ-shaped hole in your heart. Until it gets filled, you will never be satisfied. That's why Paul said that he had found, no matter whatever state he was in, he had learned to be content.
Yeah.
Whether I've got a whole bunch, whether I've got very little.
Yeah, and you're not saying, I don't think, that we should sit around and say, well, I don't need work, and I don't
No,
need,
I'm not saying that.
I'm not worried about if I ever have anything. But if that's what you think is going to bring you happiness, like you said, just look at the divorce rate in the richest, and we'll use California as an example.
Yeah.
For years.
Yeah.
I mean, they've been leading us for years in Hollywood, places where those people are rich, they're famous, they're beautiful. I mean, they're good shape, and divorce rate, drug use, just suicide rate,
Yep.
all that stuff. And I don't have numbers to back that up, but all that stuff.
Well,
there's
look at the, and I'm just going to use names because I don't think anybody could deny this. Look at the Robin Williams, the Jim Carreys,
Yeah.
and others. I don't watch movie stars and stuff a whole lot, but that's two I could think of. They are at the height of their game, basically, as we'd say, right? That anywhere you mention their name, they were known. They seemed like they had the world by the tail, as we say.
Obviously, they weren't content.
No. I mean, look how many of the stars, when their spotlight starts fading, they go crazy.
Yeah.
And especially younger stars that have been stars young, a lot of these young singers, and their fame kind of falls a little bit. You go, well, when you started, you liked to sing.
Yeah.
And then it got about the money, and then it got about the fame, but it never got about what's really important.
That happens to people start out gospel music a lot of times.
A lot of times I've heard gospel.
They don't. Some of them we've had people come out of a gospel group at our church during revival and surrendered to Christ.
Yeah.
They were singing gospel because their parents had started a gospel group or people that knew, and they were talented with their musicians and stuff, but they're singing about all the glories of God.
And didn't know him.
Didn't know him. Realized,
knew all about it.
See,
didn't know him. We've mentioned that before.
Yeah.
You know all about it. You mentioned Jeff Gordon once we talked about this.
Yeah.
When you saw him, you knew him. You knew all about him, but you don't know him.
No, I don't.
On a personal level, you know his statistics, you know he drives race car, but to sit around and talk like me and you do, you don't know him.
No.
And he don't know you at all, but you don't know him. You know?
And but I do believe this. After we've had those conversations, I think we've mentioned it here 2 or 3 times. I do believe that the best way to know God more closely is to learn more about Him.
You know where you do that, don't you?
You do that in the Word.
Right here.
Because
I'll do this so you can see it.
You know, I know more.
That's where you learn more about
I know more about my wife than I do anybody else probably on earth.
Yeah.
And so I know that about her. I also know her. So it does kind of go a little bit knowing about them does go to knowing someone. There's a whole lot of things I don't know about him.
Contentment and happiness. I got something first look at. I may do these backwards, what I should.
That's all right. Backwards is okay.
John chapter 13, verse 15. He says, I have given you an example that ye should do as I have done to you. And this was right after he'd washed his disciples' feet. I'm going to read all that because it's you showing humility, and he was doing a service. He washed their feet because that's something a servant would do at that time.
Yeah.
Because they walked with sandals and their feet would be dirty. And he goes on, he says, well, I'll start back 15 again. For I have given you an example that ye should do as I have done to you, which means servant. Verily I say unto you, the servant is not greater than his Lord, neither is he that is sent greater than he that sent him. If you know these things, happy are you if you do them. Right?
Yeah.
You can know that. You can know that you're supposed to be a servant, but if you're not a servant to the Lord, if you look at where the punctuation's at, if you know these things, come.
Yeah.
Happy are you if you do them.
Yeah.
I mean, that kind of breaks it, unless my English translation stuff is way off from what we taught us.
Yeah.
But you're happy if you do what God has lined up for you to do. I got another one here. I probably did read them backwards. You was thinking, though. Keep going.
Well, I'm thinking. I'm the story of Jacob. Abraham. Yeah, Jacob. That was a man that wasn't content with anything.
No.
Wanted more and more and more, and each time he thought he would find contentment in something, it spoiled. It brought with it its heartaches and things.
Yep.
Till he wrestled with that angel, which was, I believe, was a pre-incarnate Jesus.
If I'm not mistaken, it said it was the angel of the Lord.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that in the Old Testament usually means.
Yeah, it means it was Jesus.
Yeah.
The Son of God.
The Son of God.
And,
the Word.
And after that, he began to find more and more contentment.
He wrestled with him all night. He said, let me go. And he said, we'll not let you go till you bless me.
Yeah.
And there's a whole lot of messages right there.
Yeah.
It says he touched the hollow of his leg and he never walked the same.
So he wasn't content with having won the battle. He still wanted more. But once he touched him and he began to walk with a limp, I don't believe he found instantaneous contentment, but he began to grow And by the time that, and he still had heartaches, he lost his son Joseph, and then his boy, and then the flood, not the floods, but the droughts came, and so he's having a hard life. Still ain't easy. But he goes, and Joseph brings him to the Pharaoh, and the Pharaoh, the most powerful man on earth, looks old Joseph up and down, not Joseph, excuse me, Jacob, Israel at this time, and says, "How old are you, old man?" And I don't remember how old he was. I'm 100 and whatever. Few.
121.
Yeah, few and evil are the days of my life. Now I'm not untamed into those of my fathers. I'm not as great a man as my fathers. And he blessed
Pharaoh.
And he went out. That was a man that knew he was great in Christ. And could, because in the New Testament it says of a surety, the lesser is blessed of the greater.
Yeah.
So there was a man that had finally realized you don't have to have it all.
No.
And he's down there basically as he's not a servant maybe, but he's going to wind up that way. No, he's going. His
bloodline is going to become a bunch of slaves.
Yeah.
For 400 some years, 450 years.
But he had learned contentment in the face of all the difficulties. He had learned to rest in Christ. But
I went when my wife and I got married. I worked a job that's barely paid over minimum wage, and I figured out years later. We lived in an old trailer, bought an old secondhand trailer, moved in it. I had no hot rod, I had no truck I drove to work, and I had no motorcycle. And if we got to go out and eat, it was the greatest thing on earth, right?
Yep.
We was happy. Everything was cool as could be. As time goes on, you dig and you claw, and we've talked about this. I got up to work. I actually made pretty good money for a long time. And I was come in one day and I parked, and I thought, I work about 20 hours a day now. Yeah. And that's no exaggeration. I did. I worked about 20 hours a day, time I'd run all day and then do paperwork, get ready for the next day and all that. I said, I look back when I was working that job, barely over minimum wage. I had no motorcycle, I had no hot rod, and I had no truck I drove around. Now I've got no motorcycle, I've got no hot rod, and I got no truck I drive around.
Yeah.
And I've got the money to go buy something to eat if I want to go to McDonald's, but I don't want to anymore. Yeah. And it got to the point where it started dawning on me. I thought, this is vanity of vanities. And that was before I got saved. It started dawning on me. It's like Solomon said in Ecclesiastes, said this is nonsense. I'm working so hard, and I used to tell my wife, I'm working for a better tomorrow. Well, I've missed so many todays worrying about tomorrow. It'd have been a better tomorrow if I'd have enjoyed those todays better.
Yeah.
And the way you do that, and I ain't just saying earthly wisdom and don't worry about things you got. You need to work, have money, and you want to live comfortably as possible. But if you don't get that big gold ring that you're stretching for, and it torments you, you're living for the wrong reason. You're looking for your happiness in the wrong place.
I'll try to put a link in the description on this video if I can remember to do this. Since I'm saying it on here, it helped me remind me of it. The Gaither Vocal Band had a song, I'll Worship Only at the Feet of Jesus. And in the song, he talks about worshiping, climbing the ladder, basically worshiping fame.
Okay.
And then trying this and trying that. And what he's realized that there's no contentment anywhere else. And you say that, you suggested looking at contentment today, and I thought, man, I go back to what the lady was mentioning in Sunday school, and it started a whole other conversation in there about, but she was talking about these was teenage kids that they somehow got forwarded to her. By the way, forward our videos on your Facebook page. We think that might be a good way. If you got somebody that we say anything that, or if you don't like somebody, send them our videos.
Want to be tormented by video.
The entire, man, these teenagers, 14, 13, I guess, maybe younger with the girls and the boys, but 13 to 18 and their 20s. Just so many of them look at life and say, I don't even understand what it's all about. and I'm, that's how you wound up with kids saying, well, I'm a cat, and you're going to have to put a cat litter in the bathroom for being in schools. And the schools going along with that stuff. It's because they're searching for that place where they can be somebody. I've got, because they think you've got to have an identity. You can't just be Billy Bob.
Yeah.
You've got to be crazy here or crazy there, leader of the pack.
Yeah.
And it's just a sad thing. It's not only mental disturbance, but it's a spiritual problem.
Yeah.
And I don't know how you get that spread out to the world. Contentment's found in Christ.
Yeah. I'm glad I finally found this. Okay. It's really bothered me.
Bothering you?
I was looking for an address because it slipped my mind.
Yeah.
You was talking about them not knowing why are you here?
Yeah.
Can be satisfied with this thing. That every time I hear somebody saying that, I go to this. Revelation chapter 4, verse 11. It says, Thou art worthy, O Lord, to receive glory and honor and power. For thou hast created all things, and for thy pleasure they are and were created. That's what we were created to do, please God.
Yeah.
And if you do what you're created to do, you will be content.
That's where contentment is found.
If you the person you work for or whatever, or if you work for yourself, you work for somebody else. If you work for yourself, I don't know, if you mow yards or if you do grade work or if you, I don't know, if you plant Christmas trees, whatever it is. If you clean toilets, whatever it be, if you do what your boss man or boss woman, your superior tells you to do, you'll be content that you did a good job, that you did what you were supposed to do. Yeah, and even if they come back and go, why didn't this get done? If you did what you were supposed to do, you can go, you don't get mad about it because you're content. You go, well, I did what I was told to do.
Yeah.
They didn't tell me to go clean the neighbor's toilet, right?
Yeah.
They told me to clean this toilet, so I didn't clean that one. But
we have cleaned the gutters on the wrong house.
At least you didn't tear the wrong house down.
Yeah, we didn't turn nothing up.
I'd say them people was appreciative. They was pretty content in your wrong work.
I got to talk to the guy. We cleaned the gutters. He said, no, that's not the house I went to. Oh, man, whose gutters did you clean out?
Reckon he was real content the one who went to the wrong house?
Yeah.
If he'd have found out you was wrong, that he had went to the right house.
Clean somebody else's house, we paid him to clean the right one. That's all right.
But when you do what you're supposed to do, you are more content. I think Solomon talks about that too, don't he? Man that works for his money, he'll sleep good.
Well, you can't, once you find your purpose.
Once you find your purpose.
And you can be, it's not everybody's, it's talk. It's not everybody's purpose to make their living teaching or preaching or doing something.
No.
Thing. But it's everybody's purpose to, what did you say? And for thy pleasure.
Yeah, thou art worthy, O Lord, to receive glory, honor, and power. For thou hast created all things, and for thy pleasure they are and were created.
And we were created on the sixth day.
To please Him.
And their purpose is to please God.
I'm glad you mentioned
to
on the sixth day.
Pleasure to Him.
What's the first thing God told man to do after He created him?
Oh, we'll multiply. Right? Is that right?
I look at it like this.
To
rest in His finished work.
Yeah.
Right? God had already done everything else. He created man on the sixth day, and on the seventh, He told him to rest.
Yeah.
And what did man rest in? He rested in God's finished work.
Exactly.
So when we're saved by God's finished work. Not that we should rest and never do nothing, but don't wrestle with trying to get saved once you're saved.
Yes.
Then you start pleasing God by doing what He asks you to do. And you will have that sense of contentment. I have finally found myself. That's what you'll say.
Your contentment comes in resting in Christ.
Yes.
The Watchman Nee's got a book, Sit, Walk, Stand. And he goes through the book of Ephesians.
Okay.
And in Ephesians, the first 2 or 3 chapters talks about that as Christians, we are seated in Christ in the heavens, above all principality and power and might, every name its name. And he's saying for us to rest in that finished work of Christ. That's how you get saved. That's how you stay saved. You rest in Him. And then he says, then you walk See that you walk this way, this way, this way. And over toward the end of it says, seeing that you've done all that, now just stand. Sit, walk, stand. Now stand. Take on the whole armor of God and stand. But you're still standing in what you're resting in.
Yes.
And the contentment comes from understanding purpose.
I think people a lot of times, and if I'm going to gouge us to hurry up this time.
Okay.
To not be going way too long. You know, y'all probably already have.
Yeah.
People a lot of times are not content because they're worried about tomorrow. Do I have enough?
Right, something about that.
Yeah. Well, the Bible talks about that too. Don't worry about tomorrow. But they worry about tomorrow. Do I have enough? What happens if I can't work anymore? What happens? You know, what if? If you trust God, if you say, I've told so many people this, I do not worry about the things I have in this world. I don't worry if God's going to feed me tomorrow or not. God made me a promise that he was going to take care of me for eternity. This is part of eternity.
Oh, yeah.
If he's going to keep me throughout eternity, I'm already in part of eternity. So he's going to take care of me. Will I be maybe the most comfortable I've ever been? I don't know. Might be. But if I'm not, I want to be like Paul and be content. And where God's got me and be satisfied in the fact that he's going to take care of me.
Yeah.
Not that I don't have to ever do anything because he's going to ask me to do things, but I'm content and resting in him and him providing, you know. And that's what it takes to be content. You might go, well, if I just had $1 million in the bank, I'd be happy. Well, you might be for a minute or two, and then you go, I could lose that in just a stroke of a pen.
There's people.
So you worry about another million to go in there.
There's people working out, hoping if I could just look like Vic.
Boy, I tell you what, that'd be a good.
I'd be content.
I know. Not anymore for sure.
If I could just grow my hair out like Doug's, I'd be content. But in the real world, you're right. Contentment is found in
the Lord.
So let's go.
I can talk a whole long time. Tell us if y'all know any other way to be content.
Yeah, there'll be none found in any other.
Not
Pray for the kids. We raised them in a country, in a society, and even a world today that has no clue why they're here.
What's my purpose?
Yep. Come back, see us.
God bless y'all.
Give us a like, a thumbs up, and pass us on to somebody else. Talk to you again.